The Red Sox just had a real nice trip to Miami, and I don't know if it could have come at a better time. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. The Boston Red Sox just took all 3 games from the Miami Marlins, a team that is struggling to say the least this year. That officially puts the Boston Red Sox at 47-39 on the year. 8 games above 500, 7.5 games back of first place in this division, but more importantly, the Red Sox are not only now in a wild card spot, having swept this series, but they are only 5.5 games back of the first wild card spot, New York Yankees, and 4 if you're counting the loss columns instead of the win columns. Don't look now, but the Red Sox, they're catching up a little bit to the New York Yankees heading in to the Bronx, and I don't think this series could have come at a better time, and there's a couple of reasons for that. So what we are going to do in today's video is we're going to break this series down, talk about all the good that happened in this series, talk about some of the concerns, and what this means overall for the 2024 Red Sox. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Okay, so I actually think the theme of this series, and really what made it an important series over the course of 162, was building the Boston Red Sox back up. And let me prove to you what I'm talking about. Starting with the pitching in this series, you had Cutter take the ball in game 1. He went 6 innings, allowing just 1 earned run on a solo home run, because of course it was a home run, and he struck out 7. Look, I get it. It's the Marlins. They stink, but this is the 3rd quality start in a row for Cutter Crawford, and that's a really great sign. He had a bit of a downswing in the midst of, I would say, May and early June, or May and mid-June, right, where he had a few games in a row that really looked like he just totally lost it. Well, he's locked back in a bit here, and I think what we're going to see from Cutter going forward is this very similar thing. He's going to give you close to a quality start. He's going to give up some home runs, but he's going to limit damage because he's limiting free passes. Not having a single walk in this series was also a very good sign as well. So I'm really happy to see Cutter has found a way to work with his staff and the mechanics that he's not really used to right now. He was talking about it a couple of days ago where he's at a point now with the amount of innings that he's thrown where he's had to adjust his mechanics. I'm glad they found a way to get that done and still be effective. Brayan Bello got the ball in game 2, and this was a big start for Bello because he went out there and he threw 6 2/3 innings, allowing just 1 earned run and striking out 7. This was really big. Again, I understand the opponent, but for Bello, this is about building back confidence. He reintroduced his 4-seam in this start, and I think a lot of what that did for Bello was give him something he can lean back on. He could say, hey, if I need to, I can pump 97, 98 up in the zone where I know I can hit my spot and get back into these counts. I think it helped him with his confidence a little bit that he may just be a guy that needs that fastball as sort of not a crutch. A crutch is a wrong word, but like a safety blanket, something to comfort him on the mounds. I think that played a big role in this game, and I think that could play a big part in how Brayan Bello sort of builds himself back up again, like we talked about theme-wise. And again, I don't care really who the opponent is. It could have been AA, Mud Hens, or whatever, but this is what Bello needed to do. He needed to go out there. He needed to get himself into tricky situations, which he did a couple of times in this game. He needed to get out of them. He needed to show himself that he could perform still in Major League Baseball. So the fact that he was able to do it against the Marlins is fantastic. It's a step in the right direction. Now he's going to need to be able to continue down that path against more dangerous teams, and that's what we're going to have to see in terms of next steps from Bello. But this was a fantastic first step in getting Brayan Bello back to the person we needed him to be. Nick Pivetta also in a very similar boat, right? He had been struggling for a little bit as well. He also came out here and had a really nice outing to the tune of 7 full innings, allowing just 1 singular hit that came in the 7th inning, if you understand what I'm saying there. He also struck out 10 and walked just 2. Again, right now it's not really about the strength of the opponent, but the ability to regain confidence, and that's what Nick Pivetta did here in a really big way. Overall, this was an absolutely fantastic series for this Red Sox rotation. I think the biggest thing here is the same thing we talked about all the time, basically ad nauseum at this point, and that is that this team lives and dies by their confidence. For guys like Bayo and Pivetta, confidence is going to be key as they're both extremely emotional people, and on top of that, these are the two guys that you're going to be sort of relying on here as you get towards August, September, that have pitched full seasons in Major League Baseball before. Getting these guys confident and getting these guys right is going to be a major key in how the Red Sox can stay competitive this year, and pushing them towards the right path. That's a really excellent sign. As for the bullpen, they had their moments in this series. Zach Kelly gave up a couple in this series. Justin Slayton gave up a couple in this series. Greg Weiser gave up one in this series. Overall, I don't really have a ton of complaints about this Red Sox bullpen. They had their moments. The last game was not a great bullpen game, but you end up doing enough to win the baseball game. And again, this is one of the most sturdy and continuously productive parts of this Red Sox team, basically since day one. So if they have a bad game or even a bad series and we still end up sweeping, I think it puts the Red Sox in a good spot. And it's an understanding that, hey, they're probably not going to look like this for very long. So yeah, there are things I could nitpick here in terms of what the bullpen did in this series, but honestly, I'm not going to. They had their moments and the Red Sox still won. However, pitching is not the only thing we need to talk about. The offense also was a bit of getting yourself right. Let's talk about that as well. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button, and if you haven't already, if you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for taking a second and doing so. Let's talk about the offense as well. There was a lot of really great performances in this series, and again, the theme I'm going with for this series was sort of getting the Red Sox back on track, but one guy who's been on track this entire year is one Jarren Duran, and he remained on track this entire series with a hit in all 3 games, one of them being a home run. He also is now back up to a 6-game hit streak. It's like the dude ends one 13 or 14 game hit streak, immediately starts another 5, 6, 7 game hit streak. I don't know what else to say about Duran that we haven't already said on this channel. On top of hitting a home run and reaching safely in every single one of these games, he had multiple incredible defensive plays. One of them quite literally saved the final game of this Red Sox series, where he threw a runner out at home, which would have been the walk-off runner. He also, at some point in this series, tried to steal second base, got caught, the pitcher stepped out, threw to second base, and instead of getting him out, the dude ends up somehow safe on third base. It is incredible watching this dude impact series in every single facet of the game. What can't Jarren Duran do right now? Whatever it is, the Red Sox have yet to find it, and it has been fantastic to watch. Masataka Yoshida, speaking of building himself back up, had been struggling quite a bit since coming back from the IL. Well, he didn't so much to struggle in this series because he had 5 hits in this series with 3 RBIs, and that would be massive for this Red Sox team to get Masa cooking again. Having that sort of contact and bat-to-ball skills in the bottom middle half of this order would be absolutely incredible. It would do a lot of good for this Red Sox team, and Masa, believe it or not, could be a big part of this offense, and he showed why in this series. Rafael Devers continues to impress. He had 4 hits in this series, including a triple, but more importantly, he had 6 RBIs in this one, as well as 2 RBIs in every single game. And I thought people told me that Rafael Devers couldn't hit with runners in scoring position. What is this? This is 9 RBIs in his last 5 games. He might not be smashing grand slams or 3-run home runs, but he's finding a way to get these runners to cross the plate that are on base when he's getting up there lately, and that is absolutely fantastic. I mean, he did so well in at driving runners in. He didn't even need a hit in the final. He went 0 for 3 with 3 walks and 2 RBIs. That's how good Rafi has been lately. Time we give him his flowers for the season that he is currently having. Ceddanne Rafaela had at least 1 hit in all 3 games, and that included 1 game where he had a double and a triple for 3 RBIs, and a game where he had a bomb that also brought in 3 RBIs. Maybe he hasn't been the best statistical hitter in the world this season, but I'll tell you what, that dude comes up in some of the most important situations situations, it feels like this season. And it also feels like more times than not, he's a guy who's going to deliver. He was extremely impressive in this series, both offensively and defensively, with some real web gem highlights. This dude could make probably a full, you remember those YouTube highlight reels back in like 2012, 2011? He could make a full one of those in about 3 games. That's how good he is defensively. And finally, Tyler O'Neill had a sneaky great series at the plate where he had at least 2 hits in every single game, including 3 hits, a double, and 2 RBIs in the finale. Having Tyler O'Neill hitting ahead of Rafael Devers, hitting 269 with an 898 OPS right above Rafi, is absolutely incredible. I think it really helps Rafi not only get some pitches to hit, but also just with his confidence. He doesn't have to always be that dude when you got someone like Tyler O'Neill who could also be that dude in front of you. Not to mention, Tyler O'Neill coming right off of Duran and to some degree Hamilton is also a ton of fun to watch. He is and has been a massive factor as to why this offense is succeeding. He needs to continue to be productive in that 3 or 4 slot for this offense to work. Tyler O'Neill is one of the most important players on this team right now in terms of offensive production. Overall, taking a look at the offense here, it's hard not to be pumped about it, especially after you sort of get your clock cleaned in the San Diego series where you can't really do much offensively. This is who the Red Sox need to be. This is the offense that is going to bring them to a really competitive position at the end of the year, where it relies on a ton of athleticism, where it relies on key contributions from players who are in the bottom third of this order or who aren't maybe the main contributors on this team, but it's highlighted by the main guys: Duran, Rafael Devers, Tristan Casas when he comes back, Tyler O'Neill. These are the guys that I'm talking about here, and in this series, that's what you saw. You saw people getting on base, generating either a scoring position via a steal or creating havoc on the base pass, and then you saw either a key hit from someone in the bottom of this order or a really big contribution from the guys who you know should be making really big contributions, and that's how this Red Sox team has clicked over the last month. This athleticism and the ability of their big guys to do big things. This is what they need to continue to do, and I absolutely loved what I saw from this Red Sox offense in this series. And again, I get it's the Marlins, but this is about getting yourself right. They couldn't do it very well in the last couple of series. This was their opportunity to get themselves right, and they took advantage of that, and that's something we really haven't seen from Red Sox teams over the last couple of years. Looking at the team and series as a whole right here, this is obviously, in my opinion, a very important win. I think it's for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because they just lost back-to-back games where they got absolutely crushed. The Blue Jays in the first 2 Padres series, and then instead of just sort of laying down and dying like we've sort of seen this team, specifically the 2024 Red Sox, do a couple of times where, oh man, we lost 3, we're going to win 3, now we're going to lose 3, right? No, they picked themselves up and they went out here and they've won 4 games in a row. And what I think is also really important about this series was that they got back to being themselves. They sort of strayed away from that in the Padres series where there was some sloppy defense. There wasn't a ton of movement on the bases. There really wasn't a whole lot of contact. There were a lot of swing and miss. No, this was completely different in this series. They were able to quickly find themselves again. And I think that's a really great sign. Like I mentioned with the offense and really the team as a whole, being able to stay true to who this team is what's going to keep them competitive throughout this season. They're not going to win every series. They're going to be tough series, but they need to be able to keep themselves focused and maintain that level of play, and that's what they did, and I think that's a absolutely fantastic sign. Look, again, it's the Marlins. I understand that. I've said that 3 times now because I know there are going to be people commenting like, yeah, they had to beat the Marlins. Yeah, yes, of course they had to beat the Marlins. That's what good teams do. Good teams beat these bad teams, and honestly, I think to some degree, beating these bad teams and sweeping these bad teams and making those teams look like bad teams is exactly what a good team should do. And it's almost as important as competing against these good teams during the regular season, because this is where you rack up your wins. You can beat the good teams, but if you're going to lose to the bad teams, you're still going to have a terrible record. This is what separates good teams from mediocre teams, being able to beat up on these bad teams and still compete against the good teams. And that's what the Red Sox are doing right now. And it absolutely excites the hell out of me. I'll tell you what, This team refuses to stop fighting. They refuse to stop playing hard, and they refuse to stop playing for each other, and it's made them extremely easy to watch. But that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think? What do you think about this series and what it means for the 2024 season? What you like about it? What you not like about it? Let me know all your thoughts on the latest Red Sox sweep in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Again, it just helps these videos out a ton, and it's the best way you can let me know you're enjoying the content we are putting out. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.